What's up, comic book fans? Pete here from Comic Books Transformed, where me and my good friend Brian over there talk about comics that have been adapted into streaming shows and movies. This time around, we are taking on Daredevil, Born Again, the first two episodes, which just dropped on Disney Plus this week. So, Brian, first question right off the bat. How much Daredevil have you read in your life?
I definitely read the original Born Again storyline.
Okay.
Oh man, this is a tough question. I don't know how to quantify it. I've read some Daredevil, but not an extensive amount.
Okay.
It's one of those things that I always like, oh, I should pick up some Daredevil. And then I get confused because it relaunches like every year. And then I'm like, and they're on like volume 8 or something like that now. And I ended up like looking up a trade and I'm like, and I don't know which one to continue with.
Yep. I totally understand. I'll list the runs that I've read, and then you tell me if you've read them. So the Bendis run.
Yeah.
That's when we got back into comics. Bendis was on there.
Yeah, that was probably the first thing I ever read of him, honestly.
Yeah. So then there's the Bendis, and I think that might actually be the case for me too. The Ed Brubaker run, which is right after that.
I probably read some of that.
Okay. Who's the guy that wrote The Losers? Shit. What is his name? His name's like Andy Schmidt or something. I don't fucking know. British guy. Okay, so he's right after Ed Brubaker.
Okay.
There might be somebody in between. I don't think so. Then there's like Charles Soule.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you read that or no?
I might have read some of the Charles Soule, but maybe only like the first like trade or something like that.
Okay. And the Charles Soule one of the villains that Charles Soule created is one of the villains in this show now.
Okay, yeah, and we haven't seen that villain yet though.
He hasn't shown up yet, right. Then I think after Charles Soule, it's Chip Zdarsky. And I might be missing somebody, but I think it's like from Bendis to now, it's like those guys. And I've read pretty much all of that. And Diggle, the guy's name's Andy Diggle.
Andy Diggle, okay.
So it's like Bendis, Brubaker, Andy Diggle. I think it's Charles Soule right after. Oh my God. Mark Waid. Mark Waid did this amazing fucking run of Dare. Did you read that?
I've read some of the Mark Waid, yeah.
Okay. So then it's like Mark
There's
Waid.
definitely someone else we're forgetting though, I think too. But I
probably.
Yeah. I mean, obviously too. The earliest thing you mentioned was Bendis, but you have to talk about the Frank Miller stuff from the 80s.
Right.
I think that's kind of like a lot of what these shows are based on, honestly.
Yeah. And today, what was that?
I feel like a lot of the previous show was based on like 80s Daredevil mostly.
Yes, I completely agree with you. Movie Bob did a review of this season, or maybe just the first few episodes. He didn't really say much because I think he had an embargo. But he was saying that like the show from Netflix already covered a lot of the Frank Miller Daredevil stuff.
Yeah. And that was one of my comments is that Marvel's doing that thing again where they just name something and then it has nothing to do with the storyline.
Yeah.
It's named after like Age of Ultron. That was the first example that popped in my head.
Right.
Like they basically, although I think we're in the same boat with how much we've watched of the Netflix Daredevil. Do you watch all of it or just the first 2 seasons?
No, I didn't even finish the second season.
Okay, yeah. So I was watching in sequence and I stumbled around Luke Cage and because I didn't continue it, I just completely dropped off.
Yeah.
So, but my understanding is that they basically cover what actually happens in Born Again in season 3 of Daredevil.
Right.
And to me, the biggest tie here is like the Mayor Fisk storyline, which I think is Charles Soule.
Yeah.
Soule, however you pronounce that.
I think it's Soule, but I might be wrong.
Okay.
And he's a lawyer too.
Yes.
I call him Charles Soule. Yeah, but he's a lawyer too, so it's kind of interesting that like he's writing this lawyer character. And then it's interesting that you and I have seen the same amount of Daredevil because I was going to ask you like, do you remember what happened in the show? But I know that there's like a lot of stuff with the Hand and Elektra in the second season. There's Hand stuff in the first season. It's funny, Hand stuff. There's Hand stuff in the first season. shows hand stuff from Elektra. But you know, like there's also like Jessica Jones, and there's Iron Fist, and there's the Defenders. They have all that shit in all the Netflix shows, and then there's different layers of quality, right?
Yes.
With Jessica Jones, there's like 3 seasons too, right?
Yeah, that got 3 seasons as well. That was the most. I was surprised that got 3 seasons because like the first season was very good. That's all I saw.
Yeah.
But like out of all the characters, you know, that was probably the least known one for most people coming into it, and it's surprising that also tied Daredevil for the most amount of seasons.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let me ask you this: at all the Netflix Marvel heroes, right? So Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and Daredevil. Are any of those 4 characters in your top 10 Marvel favorite characters list?
I don't. Oh man, it gets. Is that including X-Men or not?
Yeah, I know they would take up most of your top 10.
Probably not, but Daredevil would be the one that's up there the most. I also did. I loved the Punisher Max series.
Oh yeah,
from the early 2000s. I was a very big fan of that.
Oh yeah, there was a Punisher show too.
Yeah, 2 seasons of that. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't watch any of that though.
And honestly, in terms of comics, Alias was fantastic.
So good, so fucking good. Bendis, like in his prime, is probably the reason why we're here talking and stuff.
Yeah,
like Bendis and like Mark Miller. Essentially, what they did with Marvel is why we're here talking about comics versus like, you know, maybe having like better jobs and like better lives and stuff.
Yeah, no, I was always a comic fan, but like I read very sporadically. Like I just bought whatever issues I happened to be there at the newsstand that day, and I would gravitate towards some characters, but I never really had like straight runs of things. I would occasionally get like a trade at a comic book store. But like until I met you, all the books, I didn't start like really reading serialized comics, and all the things I remember the most was like Grant Morrison's New X-Men, Mark Miller's Ultimate X-Men, Bendis on Ultimate Spider-Man, and then Daredevil, Alias, things like that. That was like my probably the most formative years I've had with comics. I would say was that era.
Likewise, man. Likewise. I would say for me, Daredevil is absolutely my top 10 favorite Marvel characters. And then Jessica Jones might even be in my top 10. I need to make a new list, sometime soon. But
the thing with Jessica Jones, though, like the peak was Alias. And I don't think there's been as anything anywhere near that level since then.
Yeah. 1000% agree. Totally. She's like one of those characters where they just kind of bring her into things like other books, and she like helps with an investigation now and then. It's really cool to see her, but like none of her solo books have ever been as good as Alias.
Yeah, although I did read some like little mini series she had a couple of years ago. It might have been Gail Simone.
Okay,
I forget what it was called. But,
was it like with a bunch of different variants of Jessica?
Yeah,
Jones?
I think it was called The Variants.
There you go. Nice. Yeah. So the show Born Again makes it seem like it's just a direct continuation of all the Netflix stuff.
Yes. It to me feels like it's like, you know how maybe this is a grown worthy comparison here, but like how some people debate whether Bumblebee is a reboot of the Michael Bay Transformers movies or not.
Yeah.
But like some things connect and some things maybe don't. I kind of feel like that's how it is. It's like it's supposed to sort of be there, but like don't pay too much attention to the details.
Right.
Although I haven't found any direct contradictions really yet. So
okay. Well, okay, so then let's talk about the comics and the show then for a second. Bullseye is in the very beginning of this. I love fucking Bullseye. Bullseye is one of my favorite villains in the comics too, especially Daredevil comics. Is Bullseye's fucking real name Poindexter?
I believe it is, yes.
Really?
And that is the same actor. That is the same actor that played Bullseye in Daredevil season 3. Also, I have to clear something up that you probably won't remember, and I guarantee no one else remembers. My wife watched Daredevil season 3. She just skipped ahead and watched it because she wanted to. For the longest time, thought that Bullseye was played by the actor who played a character on the show Fringe.
Okay.
And I was looking up names, and came to the realization last night that she was just wrong.
Okay.
So I feel like I've mentioned on the show before, like, oh, because Bullseye was played by this guy who was on this show. No, he wasn't.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, now you're making me kind of want to go back and watch Fringe
Fringe is so good. Yes, Fringe is definitely worth watching.
Yeah, and did you ever watch Mindhunter?
I wanted to, but I had heard that one of the seasons ends on like a cliffhanger, and like David Fincher's like, I might not finish this.
Yeah.
So I was hesitant because I think at the time when I was going to start watching it, it was just like a prime time of Netflix canceling stuff.
Yeah.
Way too early, and I was just pissed. I'm like, I'm not starting this, so I'm not going to finish it.
Yeah. Okay.
I've heard it's very good.
It is really good, and Anna Torv is in that, and then she's in Fringe. So, but I'm going off on a tangent, and I'm already kind of suffering from those Breaking Bad blue balls you gave me the last episode too. You know,
right.
If you guys are wondering about my blue balls, then you guys can check out our review of Invincible episode 6 for season 3. We just recorded that, so we're talking about Powerplex, who was voiced by Aaron Paul. But I actually just looked up Bullseye's name, and you're right, his fucking name is Poindexter, which is so silly.
Yeah.
You know, who the fuck is named Poindexter? Let's talk about that opening sequence in Born Again. So first off the bat, the way it's framed, the way it's shot, you're immediately thinking, okay, someone's gonna die, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Did you think that Foggy and Karen were gonna die?
Yeah, being that it's Bullseye, you'd imagine that he would take one shot and take out both of them. But yet he only shoots Foggy through like a lower, maybe upper abdomen area.
Right.
I was like, what's going on here, man? Like, there must be some reason for him to do that. Like maybe he wanted Daredevil to watch the life like flow out of his eyes or something like that. The only explanation for why he would not just shoot him in the head or shoot both of them in the head with one shot.
Right. Because at one point there's chaos going on. They're both in, or maybe there's not even chaos. It's just like Daredevil's away from them, and then they're both lined up like this. And I'm like, oh, he's gonna shoot 100%. Right through. Right. Yeah. Because that's what I fucking love about Bullseye is like Bullseye's like Hawkeye, but even better, where it's just he does these crazy fucking shots that could just kill someone.
Yeah, no, he's the same thing, but he's an asshole. Like
right. Yeah, I fucking love Bullseye so much, and it's okay. So that whole sequence, you know, they're talking. Everyone's kind of bullshit. You're like, okay, we're just kind of drawing this out so you get used to the people, so that one of them can get killed. Then Foggy's on the phone with some guy, and the guy's like, he told me to get you or to get you to come outside or something like that. Like, okay, Bullseye's going to shoot one of them. And then they do this great thing where Daredevil goes off on his own, and then he starts to realize it's a setup, and he goes back. And then I kept thinking, okay, Daredevil's going to maybe stop Bullseye, or one of them's going to get killed. Oh, shit, they're lined up. He's going to kill both of them.
Yeah.
And then there proceeds to be this fucking crazy battle where you're just like following them through this bar. I loved it. Yeah,
it was a great fight there. I love that, like, you just see like knives sticking out of Daredevil's chest.
Yes.
He's just throwing fucking knives. It was great.
I think at one point. Good.
It really makes me want to go back and watch the older shows just so I can see more things like that.
Yes. Isn't there a part where like Bullseye just has like a pool ball and just throws it at a woman's head? It's just like
he bounces it off a wall and hits the woman in the head.
Yeah. I fucking love shit like that, and that scene is just filled with it. And like he drops like smoke canisters, there's smoke everywhere. It like there's people that are like struggling in the foreground, and in the background you see them like fighting behind glass and stuff. It's so good. So good.
The door falls off and everything like that in the back of the bar. Yeah.
I fucking loved it so much. And then, oh my God, then like Bullseye gets up to the roof. He closes the door. He like bars it, and he's like just catching his breath and stuff after the fight. And then Daredevil hooks around and comes down. And oh my God, it's so good. Like in the Netflix show, there's less of Daredevil like jumping around and flipping and shit, right?
Yeah, there's not as much of that, no.
Yeah, but
it's there, but it's like I feel like there was more of it in this scene than like entire episodes of the previous seasons.
Entire seasons of the show.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say entire seasons, but
yeah. But it's always like he kind of like lands in the frame and stuff versus like he's like hooking around buildings and stuff and flipping around.
Like it looked more like Spider-Man level shit. Sort of. They were doing a little more of here. Yes.
Yeah. So I love it that like he's beating the shit out of Bullseye and he can hear Foggy's heartbeat. He can hear Karen like calling out to Foggy, and then he hears the heartbeat stop. And then he just like kind of screams out, even though he's got Bullseye in his hands.
Yeah.
I fucking love that. And then I loved that he just drops Bullseye into the ground.
Yeah, he pushes him right off the edge. Yeah.
And it's not even like, fuck you, or like, it just goes like that.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
At first I'm like, there's no way they just fucking kill Bullseye.
Right.
No way you can do that like that.
Right.
In the first 5 minutes. And
right.
Thankfully he's still around there. So I mean, I don't know if he's gonna show up again or not.
Beyond
what we saw in that first episode and the year later sequence, but I was glad he didn't like totally die. I guess he's an asshole and he killed Foggy and all that shit.
Yeah. Okay, so a few things. Foggy in the comics. Okay, so guys, this is spoiler stuff for the comics, and this might spoil the show and future Marvel things. But Foggy like dies in the comics too and comes back.
I believe so, yeah.
It's in the I think it's the Ed Brubaker run. Foggy's like in jail, and there's like a riot that I think Foggy might even be a prisoner in jail for some weird reason. It's either he's a prisoner or he's like visiting a person in jail, and then he gets stabbed, and Matt hears his heart stop beating too, and then everyone assumes he's dead, but he's like in hiding somewhere.
Okay, yeah, that sounds familiar.
Do you think that that's going to be the case for the show?
Oh man, that's a good question. I did see some wacky like Mephisto level theory that like he's gonna be like the villain that we haven't seen yet that you said was created by Charles Soule. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if I buy that. I honestly don't think that. I think he actually is gonna be dead here. Although I could also swear I read that he was gonna be back for season 2 of this. And if I'm not mistaken, Foggy and Karen were not supposed to originally be on the show.
Right.
And then they went through some restructuring and rewrites, and then they added them back in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I imagine that the intention was to just kind of front load them here, and then they were not going to be in the most of the show, and then maybe they would show it back up in a later season or something like that. But I mean, if that's the case, I don't know. They were just trying to throw people for a loop and throw them off the fact that they're going to kill one of them, or if that's actually true and they'll both be back in season 2 or not.
So let me ask you this: how do you feel about characters that die in the MCU that are still alive in the Marvel comics?
Well, I mean, it's a lot more believable to have a character die in a comic and have them come back because you just kind of almost expect it. There are very few characters that die and stay dead.
Yeah.
But like a character that dies in the movie but isn't dead in the comics.
Go on. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I guess it's just about trying to change it up, subvert your expectations a bit. I know they like to kind of the writers and showrunners like to put their own stamp on things. So it's not just a direct recreation of the comics. Yeah, and especially too, they have to kind of work within the structure of the established MCU continuity. Although this is fairly outside of it, I would say.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can understand that, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, like some examples would be like there's a ton of villains that are dead that are alive in the comics, right? Like Mysterio is the first one that pops in my head. I think that like
I don't buy that for a second, by the way.
That Mysterio's dead?
No, I don't buy that for a second.
Okay, all right. Well, it's much more common for villains to come back too than just supporting cast members. But then like Tony Stark, right? That's probably the biggest example.
Yes, but you also have to take that kind of thing into consideration that this is real life. They can't actually stretch time like they do in comic books and these people do have to move on with their lives.
Right, or become Dr. Doom.
Or become another character.
Right. So, okay, all right. So then we're saying that Foggy may or may not be dead. It's kind of funny because Karen Page has actually been dead in the comic for decades.
Yeah, and like they kept Karen Page kind of classy on the show. Like she goes through some rough patches in the comics.
Yeah. Right.
Like she gets addicted to drugs and sells her body for drugs, things like that. And they didn't really do anything like that in the show, and they kept it respectable here. But I don't think we're going to see her again this season. Like after the beginning of the second, no, it is just the first episode.
When she's in the courthouse with him?
Yeah, I think that's the last we're going to see of her the entire show. I
agree. Yeah, which makes me wonder, like, what were their original intentions of the show? Was it going to be that, like, Matt is working with this other lawyer, and then he has this woman who's, like, a psychiatrist that is dating him? Like, was that just sort of what they were planning for this whole season?
Yeah, I'm very curious to know what the original intent was and how much they changed based on the reshoots that they said they made.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. And of course, the elephant in the room, no offense to Vincent D'Onofrio, is Kingpin. We're going to talk about Kingpin a lot in a couple of minutes. But I just want to talk about like the comic book comparisons and stuff for a second. One thing, if you guys are like new to our channel or like, you know, you haven't seen us talk about Daredevil ever before, I have to point out that like Matt Murdock is one of the biggest fucking players in Marvel Universe.
I mean, I think he's a very popular character, but I don't think he has, like, he seems very cornered off in his own little world, I would say. I don't think he has much prevalence.
I think you're not as perverted as me, Brian. I'm not saying he's like a major player in the superhero game. I'm saying he gets a lot of ass.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Matt gets around. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. I actually love that about Daredevil. Like I said, Daredevil's one of my top 10 favorite characters. Yeah. He's got this fucking crushing Christian guilt.
Yes.
But yet he like has sex with so many different women. It's like ridiculous. like I'm trying to think of like other superheroes that like are that casual with their, you know, like who they get around with. Like he's one of them. Hawkeye is another big one. But they made Hawkeye this fucking like married man.
Yeah, so that's more the ultimate Hawkeye take, I think, in the MCU. But yeah, Hawkeye is also like that in the comics, I would say.
I'm just trying to think of other characters that like Tony Stark is kind of like that. Yeah.
Also, a family man in the MCU.
Right. He's always been devoted to Pepper Potts in the MCU. I'm just trying to think of other examples off the top of my head. I mean, in the comics, all the X-Men just have sex with each other and everybody too, you know. But I love that he gets around, and then, you know, in the second episode, he's like talking to this woman who's his like blind. Oh God, I just said blind date. It's Daredevil, but like, you know, this woman that he's dating, and they're having this like talk about they're gonna go to Ibiza or whatever the fuck, like some desert or some island place, you know, and it's just like that's Matt Murdock, because for the most part, I actually don't feel like he's like Matt Murdock in the comics. What about you?
Yeah, it's toned down, I think, but I do see the similarities there. Yeah,
and Matt Murdock. One of the distinct things about his appearance, one thing that when I think of Matt Murdock, it's his bright red hair.
Yeah,
and he doesn't have bright red hair, and I know it's a stupid thing to complain about, but you know,
it does look like an auburn-ish brown sort of thing, which is mildly, but I'm willing to forgive things like that. On occasion, because I do think Charlie Cox is very good.
Okay, so that's the thing, right? Is that there's many actors that like love the characters and put so much effort into them, and so you just appreciate how much they care about the characters. Charlie Cox is absolutely that.
Yes,
and there's many like Marvel characters that are like slightly different from the comics because of who's playing them and their take on them.
Yes,
you know, and then eventually the comics sort of reflect that. Like we've said this before many times, like Star-Lord and Iron Man, like they're different from what they were in the movies.
Yes, they definitely reflected the movies and the comics to get more people to buy into it.
Yeah.
More casual people buy into it. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I kind of hogged that one, but like, was there anything else you wanted to say about like Matt Murdock, Charlie Cox, Matt Murdock's like social life on the show?
No, I think we can go on to the next point.
Okay, so then the next point obviously is Kingpin. And to me, I feel like this show, these first 2 episodes, there's this crazy fucking amazing Daredevil fight scene, but then the whole rest of the show is like, it's like Mayor of Kingstown or something.
You know? Definitely very much focused on both Matt Murdock as a lawyer and then Kingpin as he's running for mayor.
Right.
It's funny too is that you don't really see much of like Kingpin doing anything wrong in these episodes. Like there's this one sequence where he like threatens the police commissioner. That's really the only thing that he's like did other than show up to a crime meeting or you really like a crime boss meeting with where his wife was. Yeah. Like everything else is like it almost seems like he's on the up and up in a way. But that one scene kind of throws a wrench in that.
Right. And I love that fucking sequence. This is kind of spoilers, and this is the end of the second episode. But he invites this commissioner over, and he's like, I got this sandwich, this Philly cheesesteak from out of the city. And he has the guy's like, want to look at the sandwich? And it's got a picture of like, I guess the guy's illegitimate kid.
Yes.
Right? And so it's not even that bad, right? Because he's basically saying like, if you quit, I'll expose your secrets versus like, oh no, that's Bullseye pointing a gun at them. He's going to kill them.
Yeah. It could be taken either way. Maybe. I mean, obviously Bullseye is in jail, but during this, but yeah, I could, it's a threat. It's a threat to either expose or kill them. I wasn't sure which one it was. Right. But yes, he's. I still think he's fantastic. Just the mannerisms. I believe it.
Oh God, yes. Well, okay, but so here's the thing, right? Is that Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin is like Charlie Cox. It's like Chris Pratt as Star-Lord. What the fuck is his name? Fucking Iron Man is Robert Downey Jr. Right? Like that's not really Kingpin.
I would argue that. I think it is. I mean, unless you're talking about the actual physical stature of Kingpin in the show compared to how he looks in the comics, which I think is physically impossible.
Right.
I think it's a good enough approximation in a believable way.
Yeah, he works and stuff like that, but in the comics, like Kingpin was the mayor. Just so you guys know, like in the comics, Kingpin was the mayor, and then Luke Cage is now the current mayor in the Marvel universe, right? Yes. But when he's the mayor, it's got a completely different fucking vibe. Like this is like he's kind of reformed and he's trying to be a good man as the mayor. Whereas in the comics, it's like he's fucking Kingpin and he's just controlling everything.
Well, yeah, no, I think we're gonna get to that. I just think we haven't seen it yet because like it's literally his like second or third day after being elected, and they're gonna show that stuff. They just gotta ramp up to it.
Yeah. Okay, since we're talking about Kingpin, how funny is that fucking sequence where there's just a hole in the ground in like a highway? It's like just in the middle of the highway.
Fill that hole now.
Right.
You are getting shit done.
Right. Yeah, the guy's like, oh, I gotta wait for the red tape to clear. But it's like it's in the middle of the fucking like West Side Highway or something.
I don't know what they were gonna do. Like, I don't think just filling the hole is gonna fix it. Like, there's probably some structural thing underneath it that's caused it to break.
Right.
I don't think filling it up is gonna work. It's just gonna make a bigger hole eventually.
Right. And it's like on the West Side Highway, or I don't know, I guess it's going from Manhattan to Brooklyn, so I'm trying to think of what it could be. But like it's blocking traffic for like 16 miles.
Yeah.
Traffic,
I mean, I get the impetus behind the scene is just like saying like he's not gonna play it safe here. He's gonna try to actually do something.
Right.
Because he realizes he has a lot of detractors and he doesn't want to play it safe like his campaign manager suggests. He wants to just get shit done, I guess.
Right. And yeah, it's a great scene. One other thing I had to ask you about too. So Vanessa's alive. Okay. Now Vanessa, if you guys watch Into the Spider-Verse, like Vanessa's Kingpin's wife, she's dead. She's dead in the comics. Kingpin and Vanessa have a son. He is also a gangster. and he's in the comics too. The Rose, I think, is his name.
Yes.
But then she's alive in this, and she was with Kingpin like when he got shot in the show. I think it was Hawkeye is when he gets shot.
So no, I don't think she was in Hawkeye.
No. I didn't mean like she's literally there. I mean that she kind of was like his wife and by his side and stuff.
Yeah. So I believe she was just in season 1 of Daredevil, and then she just shows up again here.
Okay.
I don't think she was in anything else. Could be wrong, but I think that's how it went.
Okay. So at one point, I mean, I didn't take detailed notes. I didn't even put our little tickers in here. But he kind of turns to her and he's like, I know about Daniel. Right? And he's like,
Adam.
Okay, is Adam the fucking young, annoying guy?
No, they haven't said anything who that is yet. Nobody knows who that is yet, but it's assumed it's someone that she had an affair with while he was off doing Echo.
Okay, and it's not Adam Driver, right?
No,
that'd be kind of that'd be funny.
If it was actually Adam Driver.
Yeah, like the actor. I know about Adam Driver. You know,
that would be great.
Yeah, I know. He was in Megalopolis. But anyway, okay. I'm glad it's not that fucking obnoxious young guy. That's
Daniel.
Honest.
So yeah. So that's an original character. As far as we know here, unless he ends up being somebody else. I was originally thinking that he was going to end up being someone like the Rose, the Kingpin and Vanessa's son. I'm assuming that's not going to be the case.
Agreed.
But there's gonna have to be something up with him.
Yeah. Well, he delivers one of the most cringeworthy lines I've ever heard in my fucking life, where he's talking about our home. He's like, "You got Staten Island. If you got Staten, you don't need Manhattan." I'm like, "Oh my god." I think I might have been driving, which that's not good if I'm watching a Disney Plus show while I'm driving. And I just kind of wanted to drive into oncoming traffic.
Well, you could have driven into that hole.
I could have driven into the hole. Then they wouldn't need the red tape. I would just fill it up, Oh, he's so fucking obnoxious. Like, no one would say that from Staten Island. No one would say that.
Yeah, I honestly don't agree there. I think somebody might say that someone from Staten Island might talk like that.
Okay. Maybe they would have dropped an F-bomb in there, though, or something.
Maybe.
Yeah.
No, they would. They 100% would.
Yeah. So, okay, all right. Well, this guy, he's like that. Okay. But Vincent, I was going to say Chris D'Onofrio. That's a different person. Vincent D'Onofrio is just so fucking good. And Movie Bob was saying how it's like they realize that he's the main draw of the show. Yeah,
I do agree with that statement. Yes.
Yeah. But I feel like he's going to snap at one point. I think he's going to kill that obnoxious guy. He's going to snap him in half or something,
I don't know. I mean, yes, this version of Kingpin definitely has anger issues, more so than I would say his comic counterpart does. But we're expecting him to snap at somebody at some point, and I imagine it's going to be in a very public fashion, and it's going to ruin this whole mayoral run.
Yeah. That police commissioner was ballsy, like saying, you're just a whiny kid who wants everyone to love him, or he said some kind of shit like that to him.
Yeah, I would not have those kind of balls.
I know. He would have turned his fucking head around The Exorcist,
Yeah.
Oh God. Okay, so one other thing about Kingpin while still talking about him, I actually really love that this show referenced Echo so many times. What about you?
Yeah, no, it's nice to see the continuity there. Echo was a mixed bag, but Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin was a positive outcome of that. So it's in reality, we've gotten more Kingpin in things than Daredevil, really, because Daredevil was just in that very brief cameo in No Way Home, but Kingpin was in Hawkeye, Echo, and Daredevil.
Brother, we're talking about Matt Murdock getting laid a lot. He banged
She-Hulk. She-Hulk. I forgot about that. You're right. Okay.
For some reason, he's wearing the fucking yellow and red costume in that.
Yes.
Just randomly. I don't know. I guess he packed that for his vacation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did have a stint in San Francisco. I mean, that's where, in the comics, so.
Yes, that's in the Mark Waid run.
Yeah.
So doesn't someone mention San Francisco in these 2 episodes?
Yes. I believe
that's when Karen goes, right?
Oh, Karen goes. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe that's what it was. I was almost going to say his lawyer partner, but no, she was the lawyer that he worked with in San Francisco in the comic.
Okay. Oh, okay. That makes much more sense. Okay. So, but to me, I felt like they're saying San Francisco. They're saying that's where Karen Page was. I feel like they could have easily slid in there. Like Daredevil could have been like, "Oh yeah, I had some fun there." With Jennifer Walters or something, or say hi to Jennifer Walters for me, like.
Yeah, where this show takes like this show clearly takes place after Echo, but it's not really clear to me where it takes place in regards to She-Hulk.
Yeah, I would really love a comprehensive list of like where everything takes place from like
chronological order.
Yeah, from like phase 4 on.
Yeah,
we're in phase 5 now.
This is 5 now.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. We talked about a lot of interesting stuff so far. I'm just trying to think of what. Oh, White Tiger, right?
White Tiger, yes. Yeah. So we get a little glimpse of White Tiger in costume and some like security cam footage, and then the big basis of the second episode is Matt taking on the case of this this kind of guy who thinks he's helping someone on being attacked in the subway, which ends up in the death of an undercover cop. So, and that just happens to end up being White Tiger.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the original version of White Tiger?
I guess not that much.
Yeah.
I'm probably more familiar with the female version, which is, oh God, I don't remember her name now.
Right. Neither do I. And the thing is, I remember reading comics with her and stuff because when I saw her in Marvel Snap, I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen comics with her, but I can't remember like what the fuck she's in. Like if she's in Daredevil or if she's in like.
Yeah, I almost said Maya Lopez, but like, oh no, that's Echo.
Right. But she's so commonly used in Snap, so I always think of her.
Yeah. Yes.
But I'm just trying to think of what the fuck I saw her in because she was a big player in something. I mean, it could have been like anything, like fucking Defender. I think she was in. I think Al Ewing did a run of Defenders, but it had like Luke Cage and Falcon before he was, or he might have been Cap, or he might have just been Falcon, but like Falcon, Sam Wilson, right? It had like a whole bunch of African American heroes, and I think she was on the team.
Thing run on the Defenders, right?
Yeah,
from a couple years ago. I think I own that somewhere too.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'm pretty sure Doctor Strange is in it too, actually.
Is he? He might be. He might. Well, no. There's
original Defenders.
Right. Doctor Strange. There's a team with him, a modern book that has like him and like Namor, and maybe the Silver Surfer and stuff like. There's a modern run of that. I think Matt Fraction wrote it.
I think that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. But yeah, I've definitely seen comics with her. I haven't seen comics with him in it. The original White Tiger. And I don't know if he's like her uncle or her father. I don't know what the hell he is to her.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
This is a good stretch of a video, right? Just to be like,
yeah, I don't know. Maybe he was there. Could have been in the comics somewhere, maybe.
So, okay. So here's what I want to ask you: the guy Cherry, that's in the Daredevil show, is he in all the seasons, or?
I don't believe so. I think he just showed up for the first time in this series. I don't think he's a comic character, and I don't think he's been in a previous season. Totally be wrong, but I could not find anything about it on the internet.
Okay. Well, he's played by Clark Johnson, and I actually fucking love Clark Johnson. He was on a show called Homicide: Life on the Street, which was in the 90s, and it's a really, really fucking good show. A lot of big people are from that show. It's made by the people that made The Wire. The Wire is one of the greatest shows of all time. He was a great character on that show, and then he's gone on to be a director. And he's directed some really fucking amazing shows too. Like he directed episodes of The Wire and other things too. Oh. I really fucking like him on this show.
Yeah, no, I like him a lot too. There, I was trying to figure. I was looking up all the characters and trying to find out who was from the comics and who was original here. And he was a bit of a mystery to me. Mm-hmm. But I think for the most part he is original here. And I didn't find much evidence otherwise. I know for a fact Daniel Blake is original, and just about everybody else is from the comics. Or
but is Ben Urich's niece in the comics?
That I don't know. I couldn't. I just saw the name like, oh, that's Ben Urich's niece, I guess, and I didn't look that up. I probably should do a little more research there, but the therapist Heather, she was from the comics. His lawyer partners from the comics. The Fisk's right hand man guy, like Buck, he is from the comics, although very different. And obviously White Tiger is from the comics as well.
Is Buck the guy from the comics that's African American, or is that a different guy?
No, Buck is a character named Bullet, who also physically looks a lot like Wilson Fisk does in the comics. He's very tall, very bulky.
Okay.
And he was once the host of the Phage symbiote, which is like the yellow symbiote.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, got the symbiote shit going on too. Okay.
But he seems like a very different character in this.
Okay. Well, so Ben Urich's niece, BB, that's another example of, okay, this is a character that's alive in the Marvel universe. They're dead in the MCU. Like, Ben Urich is alive, and I think he's in charge of, like, Frontline or whatever the hell the paper is. There's another paper besides the Daily.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it either. Yes, but yeah, Ben Urich is dead from Daredevil season 1. I think Kingpin actually killed him.
I think so too. Yes,
like, actually, with his like bare hands, killed him. But yeah, I could be misremembering that.
I think you're right, though. I think you're right.
Which adds a lot of tension to that scene where she interviews him for like 5 minutes. He's asking questions. It's like, oh, I that uncle of yours. Oh, I strangled him to death.
Right. But even in that scene, he shows a lot of restraint. Like, yes. she comes in, she asks like a really pointed question at first, and then he just is like, I'm done. I'll see you later, right? And then she's like, "What about your wife?" And he like doesn't even talk to her. Then, did you like that kind of framing device where it was like her going up to people on the street and asking about Daredevil and crime?
Yeah, it's very interesting because I think it is, even with real world events, it is a very hard sell to have someone like Wilson Fisk be the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he clearly was a crime lord. He was arrested for it. He was in jail for it, and yet there's like the people have voted for him. Yeah, I know, but still, it's like it's hard to believe that, even though with real life right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know where I was going with that. Oh yeah, so they have, that's why they have those little mini interviews there to show that there's there are still people that are vocally against him, but there are people that are for him as well.
Right. Yeah, and I've liked it. Sometimes it's a little like too on the nose what people say about Daredevil or Wilson Fisk. I'm like, okay, it's kind of on the nose. But I also could see New Yorkers being interviewed and saying things like that.
Yeah, because I imagine if you were just on the spot asked about something like that, it's like, you don't have a statement prepared necessarily, and you kind of stumble over your words and you say something very generic.
Yeah. I wish that,
if you're wearing a band shirt, I walk up to you like, oh, name 3 songs, or what's your favorite album? You're like, I don't fucking remember shit right now.
Right. It's a great point. But I wish that Billy Eichner was actually the one going up to that.
That would have been great.
Miss, for $1. What do you think of Daredevil's new helmet? It's just like,
oh my God, that would have been very off. Not fitting for the show, but it would have been fantastic.
So I think that we should talk about just the idea that, Kingpin is the mayor, and that seems like a tough pill to swallow. I'm just trying to put into context like how he becomes the mayor in the Marvel universe. I think what happens is, I think it's Secret Invasion. No. Secret Empire. And
there was like a dome around Manhattan, and he protected people, and then he got people to vote for him after that. So like he did something that actually helped people,
right?
And to facilitate him getting the mayor. Here it's just like, oh, he's just running for mayor, and sure, we'll go for it.
Yeah, we'll go for this crime lord. Yeah, he could be the mayor. But I will say this, that it's very interesting, right? Because obviously, I'll just say his fucking name, whatever. Like, Trump, right? Like, the idea that he's been convicted of these felonies or whatever, and he's our fucking president, and he's like making a cabinet full of people that are like reality TV stars and crazy lunatics in charge of everything. I don't want to bring us all down and stuff, but what's interesting to me is Wilson Fisk loves New York so much. And Trump, go ahead.
I was going to say that, I mean, so far in the show, I think I'd rather have Wilson Fisk in power.
Right. But see, that's the thing, Brian, that's interesting. I'm going to get a little political for a second, is that Trump is so like self-serving and so like, look at me, everything matters is me. I'm the only thing that should get attention. I'm so important, right? That's Trump. Fisk is obviously self-serving too, but it's all about like just controlling power and having things done a certain way. It's not like, look at me, I'm the kingpin, I'm so hot. It's not like that. And he has this loyalty to New York, which Donald Trump has just fucking abandoned New York. Like, he treats New York like it's like this.
Yeah, because most of New York hates him, and that's right. Why.
Except for Staten Island, right? But
yeah,
who needs Staten when you got Manhattan or whatever the fuck, right? But
yeah, it's one of my favorite scenes in the first 2 episodes is actually when he's sitting in the mayor's office and he's talking about like the desk, and he talks about his father and the respect his father had for whatever LaGuardia, I forget the first name, but just like you actually can tell that he has reverence for the city and he actually does want to do. He thinks he's helping the city, I think, and that's why it's so weird because it's still ambiguous. It's like other than that scene where he threatens the commissioner, we really don't know what he's trying to do other than ban vigilantes. Like that's really the only thing we know here. I mean, there's clearly going to be something else. We know Vanessa is running the crime syndicate aspect here, and he's doing this. But what is the ultimate goal here? We're not exactly sure.
Yeah, and I think that like for people that are just watching this for the first time, for people that just watched the Netflix show, people that haven't seen Echo or Hawkeye, they're probably kind of confused. They're like, oh, this is all a big, oh fuck, I said Echo, and now it's. Hold on a sec. Echo, stop. Watch what I'm saying. But, people don't know that he got kind of like an evil enema, basically just got all the evil taken out of him by, Echo.
Yeah.
And they don't even know if they haven't seen Hawkeye. They didn't know they got shot in the eye.
Yeah, because you can't tell he got shot in the face. I mean,
right.
I keep waiting for him to like pull his eyeball out like a fake eye or something like that.
Yeah,
like, oh yeah, I did get shot in the face,
Right. That'd be kind of hot. But like, this show is just chock full of little references, and they're like subtle references to things where like, Matt says to him, didn't your mentee shoot you in the face? He says that when they're in the diner in that one scene. Yep. Kingpin makes a reference to Spider-Man. He makes a reference to Punisher in that same scene. So there's all these little references to other things in other MCU projects.
Yes. I think that I'm happy to see those things. And I feel like that was details like that were very missed in the Netflix versions of those shows.
Exactly.
Just the briefest mention of Spider-Man was all I needed. Like, he really is a Kingpin is a very big Spider-Man villain too. Really, I mean, it's I would say more so Daredevil, but he fights Spider-Man often enough as well.
Kingpin started as a Spider-Man villain.
Yeah.
And they became, no, I love it. It got me so fucking excited. I was like, oh, I'm going to shoot my web right now. But anyway.
Tom Holland.
Oh, my God. Okay. So is there anything else you want to talk about with these first 2 episodes?
Yes. I just want to comment on where we leave. Well, first of all, I wanted to mention the woman playing the love interest, Heather Glenn, played by Margarita Leviva, which I wanted to point out was Mother Coral from The Acolyte.
Oh no! Oh no! Is that the one that's married to the mom that dies?
Yes.
Oh no, that's horrible.
So I want to point that out there, and then and that is a character from the comics. There seems like a fairly different take. Her in the comics, her father was like a CEO and got controlled by Purple Man, and then various tragic events have him there. But here she's a therapist and is, I guess, the therapist for the Fisks, which is an interesting plot line to do here.
Bit of a coincidence, yeah.
Yeah, and then the other thing I want to mention too is the very last scene of season 2. Episode 2, where Daredevil is trying to find the man that Hector was trying to save on the subway platform. And you see the cops trying to attack him, and you see there's a tattoo on there that looks like a Punisher skull, sort of. And I'm very curious how that's going to tie into this. I believe Punisher is supposed to show up in this. So I'm curious to see where that is there. And I also got thinking of because there's a flag behind it too. And I know that Nuke was a big part of Born Again. And I'm wondering if that somehow ties in some way. Because Nuke is the guy who took the super soldier serum, was experimented on, trying to recreate the super soldier serum. But he also is crazy and has an American flag tattooed on his face. So I saw the Punisher skull and the American flag. It made me think of Nuke, and just the general idea that there are cops out there that wear like body armor with like the Punisher skull on it, which seems very inappropriate. And I'm very curious to how they're going to handle that storyline throughout this season.
Yeah. I think I might have even heard kind of spoilery stuff that like the crooked cops that are loyal to Fisk do have like Punisher symbols on them, and I think that's what brings Frank out of hiding. Okay. You know, but I was going to say about Nuke. Isn't Nuke in season 1 of Jessica Jones? Right, because Jessica Jones on the show.
Oh my God, you're right. Yes, he was.
Patsy Walker is her friend on the show, right? And
yeah, you're right. He was.
That's her boyfriend. Yes. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't remember if he dies or not.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
He probably
White guy is vaguely remembering things.
Yep. Yeah. Like and subscribe. But okay. I'm glad that you brought the Punisher thing. And I really, really fucking like that sequence where the cops beat the shit out of Matt. He's like, I'm visually impaired or whatever, and they beat the shit out of him. Then they go to kill him, and then he just tosses. Yeah. So good. I fucking love that so much.
He snapped the guy's arm. Like, his arm broke, right?
Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah. I mean, I kind of was driving a car, so I didn't see all the details, completely. But yeah, I definitely heard a snap.
Like, you see like these two things against the guy's shirt, like, and you see blood popping out. I'm like, oh, he like literally like popped a bone.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so then if those are your last comments on this, then I wanted to ask you a question. Do you think that okay, so this show definitely gives the vibe of like the MCU, that all this stuff is connected, like there's a whole universe out there. This is a world that you can walk around in. Do you think that with phase 6, Marvel can like really turn it around and like kind of get back towards the top again?
I think it's hard because I think with the comics, one of the benefits is that the characters are like basically always there. There's always somebody around, and especially in New York, there's like everybody's in fucking New York.
Yeah.
But like we said before, actors want to move on. They want to retire. They don't want to do these things forever. They don't want to keep these physiques up or just keep playing the same role over and over again. So it's weird. Like I feel like, although maybe because they're gonna have Fantastic Four in New York now. I'm assuming Spider-Man will still be around. You'll have Daredevil there. You don't have the Avenger characters really, and then the X-Men are a stone's throw away, I guess, potentially, depending on where they end up. So maybe, but it's just weird to have these movies go on for so long and to have these characters kind of disappear out of the public eye, and you kind of like miss their presence with it. So I don't know if they can get back to the top necessarily.
Okay. That's a good answer. I guess my follow-up question to that is, do you think that after Secret Wars, they're gonna like recast certain iconic characters like Steve Rogers, Tony Stark, but as younger actors, so that we all have them. Like we have our fucking toy box that has X-Men, Iron Man, Captain America, all of them together.
Oh man, I would love that. I think.
Yeah, ditto.
I think I would love that. I don't know what they're gonna do though. I'm. It could go either way.
Yeah, I kind of don't think they're gonna do it because it's like, well, then what are they gonna do? Are they gonna like retell movies that we've seen already? Or are they gonna do like kind of another take on Avengers? And then like, who the fuck would ever replace Robert Downey Jr.? Who would replace Chris Evans? You know, it's like,
yeah, you can't. It's going to be really hard to replace anybody. And I think one of the biggest things too for me is like, how do you replace Hugh Jackman?
Yeah.
Like, really, how do you do that?
Well, okay, with Hugh Jackman, and this is kind of go off on a tangent and stuff, but like, I feel like Wolverine, that's his version of Wolverine. Okay. Let me see if I can try.
It's different because that's a Wolverine from a different universe. Essentially, these are characters from this universe. How do they replace them necessarily? I think the one character that they kind of have to replace, Black Panther. They really need to do it.
Right.
I did enjoy Wakanda Forever, but I think they need to take the opportunity of Secret Wars and a possible universe reset to recast at least him.
It's T'Challa,
T'Challa. Yeah. Even if they go the route of it's T'Challa's son and whose name is also T'Challa, and I'll pretend it's the same T'Challa. I'm cool with that.
Right.
But yeah, I would love to see this. I think some characters just are more required than others. But I'm like, I feel like replacing everybody feels like us fantasy booking, and the answer is usually a lot more logical and straightforward. So I think we're going to get a little bit of these characters in the transitionary period. I think they're going to be a big focus on FF and the X-Men, and that's going to be how it moves forward. After that, I don't know what the fuck they do. Then maybe by then people will stop seeing these movies.
Yeah, and we'll probably Right. Good point.
Wait, I saw this great joke. I can't remember who said it, but there was like a movie theater that like collapsed.
You're right.
And it was a show during a showing of Brave New World, and somebody thanked Marvel for putting out a shitty movie because only 2 people were there to see it. So.
Oh man, that's fucked up.
I really wish I could remember where I saw that and give that person credit for that joke because it's a very dark joke, but it was really funny. I thought.
Right. No, I think Conan even made a reference to that on the Oscars, but it was a different joke. It kind of had like the same setup, but like, it was kind of like that was the second worst thing in that theater or something like that. But like, But that joke, go ahead.
And I didn't dislike Brave New World. I did enjoy it, but I can appreciate a good joke when I see it.
Fuck yeah. Well, I enjoyed just that fucking bullseye fight alone was better than anything in Brave New World.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we are right under an hour, so I can stop it. We can just put this on YouTube. But Brian, I actually thoroughly enjoyed talking about the show with you.
Yeah, we went long damn time here.
Yeah. So there's more Daredevil to come. We will be back next week. We're going to be back next week with some more Invincible coverage. So if you guys have not subscribed already, if you like listening to us try to remember things, make sure you subscribe. Give us some likes, give us some comments, and we'll give you guys some kisses on the lips. We'll see you all then.